Use the Force, Luke.
Live long and prosper.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming. You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog here.
Bow ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 127 of A Play on Nerds. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve, and the other guy is
Jarman.
And we are here to co-host the hell out of this thing.
And it's been
Thanks
a while.
for coming back. I know we've had a break, but a lot of events happen in both of our lives, and then a hurricane happened in the middle. Always throws you off.
Completely.
So we've been off for a little bit, but the important thing is we're back now.
Yes, we are back.
And we're never going to go away again until the next time we go away.
Until the next time this happens. Maybe next DragonCon.
Yes.
Or something happens with Joyce.
Or a hurricane.
Or hurricane. There's still more of those to come, apparently.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
They're all hitting Alabama, so I've heard from the president.
Well, I mean, he did circle it. It is official.
With a Sharpie. So that means it's
just
happening.
like middle school.
Yeah.
Because you can't erase it.
That's how it works.
So what have we've been away for like 3 weeks. What have you been up to?
Well, I was working like crazy before to try to go to DragonCon. So I was trying to make enough money to make it worth it to go. And I just barely did by putting in long 12-hour days and ignoring all of my friends and family. And then drove up there and got there. And my friends that were new to DragonCon were freaking out because hurricane was about to hit Orlando, where we're coming from. And I was trying to tell them the whole time that 90% of the hurricanes we get on the news are overblown by the news. They're like, well, for Orlando anyways. So I feel terrible about what happened in the Bahamas and stuff, and then the Keys and that kind of thing. But for Orlando, it's very rare for something to really hit Orlando hard. It happened maybe 4 times over my whole life. It's been pretty bad. Yeah. So I couldn't tell them, my friends, they're overreacting. They're wrong, because it could happen. But I'm like, just why don't you take it easy and wait until we find out from the news what happens, and we can wait and, go from there. And but instead, they decided they were going to go home 2 days early from DragonCon. People who drove me. I had worked so much to get to go to DragonCon that I wasn't going to go home 2 days early. I'm like, I'll find a way home. So I look online, and the wonderful Spirit Airlines had a $35 flight.
So that's what they're known for, is being wonderful.
Oh yeah, of course. But you get what you pay for, Spirit. And so $35 for the flight. Then it was $40 for my checked bag. So my bag was more expensive than the flight itself. It's ridiculous. And then my bag went over. So I had to pay $30 more for my bag.
For an overweight baggage, yeah.
So overall, though, still a really cheap flight with all that combined. So that was going to be going back on Tuesday, a day after DragonCon was over. But then on Tuesday afternoon, the Orlando airport closes preemptively just in case something happens. So my flight gets canceled. So I'm stuck in Atlanta until Thursday at that point. So luckily enough, my old roommate now lives in Atlanta with his wife. So I was able to stay with them in their apartment. They were super sweet to host me there for a few days. And I got to experience all of DragonCon and have a great time and meet up with our old friend Sean Vanderloo of the Soul Forge and Rusted Robot podcasts. And we share a lot of listeners with their podcasts, so you might have already heard this, but I have a little bit of a cut down version of our interview we had together, first in my room, and then we get kicked out of my room because all my friends came in to party and stuff. So we went out in the hallway, and it was a little echoey, but we'll go ahead and play that here. It's about a little 9-minute interview and just us chatting and catching up and meeting for the first time. So here it is.
Hey, Jarman.
Hey, Sean.
How the hell's it going?
It's going well.
We're here live at DragonCon 2019.
We are, and you made a long trek to get here.
I did, because I had to drive 22 plus hours over 2 days so I could meet you in person after 5 years of knowing you podcast-wise.
That's ridiculous. And I've been fortunate to meet a few of the podcasting friends that are on this show as well, like Paul Wright, who just recorded your last Rusted Robot podcast.
Yes.
He came down to Disney because I live in Orlando. And people come to Disney all the time, so I got to meet him. That was fun. But yeah, this is crazy.
Yes, so it's been, 5 years? Ish?
Oh my God,
5
years.
Plus
and
years.
your show's gone through a lot in 5 years.
It certainly has. But how did we meet? Was it through 10 Forward podcast?
It must have been, yeah. And
I think
I've met so many people through that one podcast.
That's what got us going.
And apparently it's coming back-ish
I've heard rumors.
from Daniel Peter Hitch is going to do some episodes or something.
Yes, because he listened to the episode of Soulforge where I
Oh.
talked about how to start your own podcast, and it inspired him.
Well, look at that. Soulforce doing more for people.
Right? That's what it's all about, Jarman.
Mhm.
So yeah, we met for the first time, 2 or 3 nights ago?
Yep.
And it's awesome. Good
Yeah.
to meet you in person. And came down to Georgia and stayed at Mike and Judy's house. They were kind enough to set us up and let us stay in their place. I got to meet Robert J. Sawyer in person yesterday, favorite author.
Past guest in the podcast.
Past guest on episode 13 of Rusted Robot, yeah.
That's right.
Took a selfie with him and met him for real.
Oh, and we have guests. Hello. This will be an outtake for the podcast.
There you go. Yeah,
So we're
recording.
currently sitting in a room with 6 people for a DragonCon because you share the room.
That's me being more than 6. Like,
They will pick this up in a bit.
So the party came to our room with several of my friends that drove up from Orlando for DragonCon, and we're all staying in a room with 6 people, so it's a little bit congested. So we're on the hallway now.
Now we're out in the hallway recording.
Sounds a little echoey, but that's okay.
Yeah. How long did it take you to drive up?
6.5 hours from Orlando.
Okay.
So not as bad as your 27 or whatever hours.
It was a lot of hours. So you escaped the hurricane?
Just barely. So Hurricane Dorian is coming into Orlando right now, and so I'm going to be trapped in Atlanta. I can't drive back with my friends. I'm going to fly back around Thursday. So you're staying at the Ritz, I believe.
Yes, it's very fancy, the
That's
Ritz-Carlton. So it's just good to finally meet you in person. It's I did all the panels that I wanted to do. I got to see Robert Sawyer. I got to see the Star Trek Discovery panel.
Oh, we both did it together. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Well, kind of together. You were sitting farther away from me, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
So we had Spock, and we had Captain Pike, and we had, who else was there?
Shazad Latif,
Shazad
and
Latif.
Mary Chifo.
Yes.
Emily Coots.
Was supposed to be there.
Lieutenant Detmer was supposed to be there, and she wasn't. That was very sad.
It was that.
Anson Mount, amazing guy.
Such an amazing
hilarious.
guy. And he's a podcast, apparently.
Yeah, he has a
I
podcast
had no idea he had a
called
podcast.
The Well.
The Well. It's kind of like creativity, apparently. So it's kind of related to Soulforge a little bit that way, but being a creative person and talent and pulling from your well, I guess.
I guess that's
Yeah.
what it is. I haven't listened to it.
But he's a gorgeous man, and I'm a straight man, but man, that's a good-looking man.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah,
Yes,
good-looking guy.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Like dashing like a George Clooney or something like that.
But better.
But better,
I don't find George Clooney.
Yeah,
handsome.
not really.
No.
I'm more Ransom Mount guy.
Yeah, totally Anson Mount. Yeah, but did that, and that was Friday, and today's Saturday?
Yeah.
Yes, because
What day is it? Yeah.
it's hard to keep track. So I went and saw The Boys. You were there. Carl Urban and Jack Wade.
Great show, great panel.
Before that, I saw George Takei's panel, moderated by Garrett Wong.
Oh, nice.
And-
Of Voyager fame.
Ensign Harry Kim himself.
Mhm.
I did something else this morning too, which I can't remember anymore.
The robot thing.
Well, there was a robot thing.
So much in one day.
Yeah, I can't keep it all.
So Garrett Wong, folks, from Voyager, Ensign Harry Kim, as you said, he's actually in charge of the fan track at DragonCon, organizing all the events and getting the guests. He's actually the head of the Trek track at DragonCon, which I don't know how much work he actually does for that, but apparently he's the figurehead of it. He's here every single year, and he's a lot of fun. He's a fun guy. I had a picture taken with him several years ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's good times.
nice.
Yeah. And I think Shatner's here this year, too.
He comes in tomorrow.
Okay.
He's here Sunday, Monday, but I have to leave Sunday morning
Gotcha.
for the 22, 24, 25-hour drive back home.
Right.
So,
But he usually tells the same stories every time. So if you watch one on YouTube, you've kind of seen them all. And at this age, he's kind of just repeating the same things.
yeah, he's like 86 or 88 or 89 or
Yeah,
something.
props to him for still coming out.
Mhm. He needs the money apparently.
But he has a new show, too, I think, on TV. Something
Really?
like a Mysteries of the World kind of show or something like that.
Oh, he's always doing one of those.
Yeah,
kind of
he's got another one,
Yeah.
apparently.
I don't know.
Cashing those checks.
That's what he does. That's it.
So for me at DragonCon, typically it means there's parties here that go until 5:30 in the morning. And I'm getting a little older, 33 years old now, and it's a little hard. Yeah, youngling compared to you, I guess, but it's still fun to go out, but my body can't handle it anymore. So, but I recommend all you folks come to Atlanta, drive the 27 hours, make it happen.
And this is DragonCon number what for you?
I think 8.
Okay.
8th DragonCon.
There's so many people here. It's hard to move around,
It's being a little crazy.
but the experience itself, absolutely amazing.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's. Oh, no, it's worth it for you driving this far.
You know what? It's totally worth it because I got to see the celebrities. There's another panel that I saw today that I can't remember, but I know I took pictures of it. It's all a blur.
Whatever it was.
Whatever it was good.
And you've gone to bed at what time every night?
11:30.
That's not too bad. All right.
Yeah, we're being a bunch of losers and going to bed early. Everybody's staying up and partying until what, 2 or 3 in the morning?
5 in the morning.
5 in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, my regular bedtime's 10 o'clock, so I'm doing okay.
Nice. Yeah.
And sleeping on an air mattress, which is super uncomfortable.
Yes, I'm doing the same thing. Sleeping on an air mattress. That's part of the con game, guys. Unless you get a lot of money and you book things ahead of time, you can get a nice bed.
And I'm an old man. In 3 days, I'll be 43. So.
Well, you look young. You're pulling it off, sir.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm no Carl Urban or Anson Mount, but
apparently he's just aging gracefully. You have to do that too.
That's it.
But for next year, I'm really trying to hold you to this. That we'll save up money and go do this again next year.
Next year, you think so?
But make you fly next time.
That would be a better idea.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I can't think of it like the week before and then say, hey, I'm going to go,
Exactly.
Better plan it for a year next time.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a wise idea.
And I will fly up to Timmins and go to the
Northern Ontario Timmins Comic Con?
That's right.
Just say that 3 times fast.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's every April usually.
So if I go to Timmins, what else am I going to experience? What should I do when I'm at Timmins?
Oh, Timmins is a land that culture forgot, so you won't experience anything.
I heard there's a great comic shop there, though.
There is.
What's it called?
It's called, what is it? It's Jump City.
Oh, Jumps. I've heard of that.
It's at 38 Pine Street North.
It's in a mall, I believe.
It's in the 101 mall.
Well, look at that.
In the lower level.
I was halfway there.
You were. You're halfway there now because you came up from Florida to Georgia, so you're.
I might as well keep driving.
You might as well.
And go to that comic shop and buy something.
Why don't you just hop in my car and come back with me?
All right, you convinced me. What car are you driving?
Mazda 3.
Isn't that a sports car?
No.
Oh, I thought a Mazda 3 was a sports car.
My car is not a sports car. It's a 2012 Mazda 3.
All right.
It's black, it's 4 doors, 4-cylinder. It's got no get up and go.
But it gets the job done.
It got me here.
Yeah, it's not breaking down.
No, and it's full of geek stickers. I was going to drive it in the parade, but I didn't.
Oh, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's too early, the parade. Just sleep through it.
Yeah. Oh, so many people.
Oh, in the parade, they put on the CW, the channel. It's actually locally played here throughout all of Atlanta, so people can watch the DragonCon parade. It's amazing. But I drove it through in a minivan. It was great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very comfortable.
Very roomy.
Yep.
The Arrowverse. That was the other panel.
You were supposed to see a lot of people from the Arrowverse?
Yes.
I'm jealous. I wanted to see that.
The guy who played Quentin Lance.
Yep.
The guy
British
who played,
guy.
Yeah, Paul Blackthorne.
Yep.
Roy Harper, actor Colton Haynes.
He seemed like he's a short guy. He seemed like it anyways.
I couldn't tell. They were sitting down. Nick Zano, who plays Steel on Legends.
The guy turns into metal. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2 ladies from there as well. Zazu, or they're
one of the newer characters, probably.
What was her name? Tella Ash. I think.
She has one of the wind power or whatever.
I don't know. And just somebody. there was 2 ladies.
How very sexist of you to forget the female characters. I'm forgetting 2 though. I can't remember.
It's hard to keep everything in your head.
It's true.
It's
There's too many
overwhelming.
shows.
Not enough sleep. Too many people. Not
Really,
enough
you're
food.
just watching that one show with Anson Mount.
Yes.
That's all you're watching right now.
Pretty much. I haven't watched the Arrowverse in the last year and a half.
Damn.
So.
And all Josh watches is Flash.
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to Josh. You're not here. You're missing out.
Big time. And we just came from seeing the boys panel, and you've seen all the show?
I have.
Okay, I've seen 3 episodes.
There's only 8.
8, yeah.
5 more left.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very much worth it. Very gory, some nudity, a lot of touchy subjects.
A lot of swearing.
A lot of swearing. But it's like the gritty world of superheroes, if they really existed in our world, it's definitely worth watching.
Very dense.
Yes,
like,
very dense.
Lots of jam-packed.
But good comedy in it, too, to like relieve
Totally.
things. And Elizabeth Shue is in it, who I haven't seen in a long time.
Adventures in Babysitting.
That was maybe her first movie or whatever, like a TV show? Was it a TV show?
That was a movie from, I believe, 1987.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where she had to babysit these kids, and they went on adventures, and there was a character named Thor in the film, and he was like a mechanic or something. I don't know.
But she was great back in the day, and she's still a gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Worth watching.
Totally. So
this is going to become a yearly thing, hopefully.
Hopefully.
You'll hear from me and Sean once a year for the annual DragonCon report.
There you go.
We'll sit in a hallway.
Yes.
And we'll be drinking and talking about DragonCon.
That's right.
Well, this is a lot of fun, Sean.
A lot of fun, Jarman.
Hopefully we'll do it again.
I think we will.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So yeah, it was great catching up with Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Sean, for being a friend of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for bringing a mic because I didn't have a mic with me at DragonCon, so we used his mic that he uses for podcasting, so it worked out pretty well.
Very nice.
And I got home from the DragonCon, and There was no damage at all in Orlando,
Good.
and my cats were okay, and I'm back. So that was my 3 weeks of craziness.
So you braved the storm.
I sure did. I flew back on a scary Spirit Airlines flight and didn't get killed. So
I mean, that's the real bravery.
It really is. So what have you been up to for 3 whole weeks?
3 whole weeks. The biggest thing that really took up the middle of it was we had the kid's birthday.
Yay!
Joyce, my daughter, turned 3 years old. And we went up this past weekend and went up to Anna's mom's place about an hour north, and we invited family, and we did a family birthday party for the aunts and uncles and all the cousins. And that was fun, and Joyce got a lot of really good stuff. But the day before that, Anna and I got the rare opportunity as parents to go out on a date.
Oh.
I had a gift certificate to Outback Steakhouse for my birthday.
Nice.
So we went and had a lavish Outback Steakhouse lunch.
With a bloomin' onion?
Oh my God, the bloomin' onion.
Yeah.
How can you not?
All 2,000 calories of it.
I mean, man, make it 3.
Why not? Just throw it in there.
Just get the extra dipping sauce. I'll do lines of it. So we had a really good lunch. And then to massage ourselves a little bit, we took the 40-minute walk from there to a big shopping center that houses a brand new Dave & Buster's.
Oh, very nice.
And so we got to go to Dave & Buster's and play games. And we've been really enjoying I may have talked about him before. This kid called Arcade Matt on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Matt3756. And he goes to arcades and plays games, and he shares tips and tricks and how he spots machines and the games that are actually skill based and you can time versus the ones that are just luck. And using his tricks in just over an hour, we made 8,000 tickets.
Whoa.
Which we then went to the Dave & Buster's store and bought bonus birthday gifts for the kid.
Oh, that's nice of you.
So she ended up with 5 additional gifts.
That's amazing. So things are actually not just like Chinese finger traps.
No, we got her 2 Funko Pops.
Nice.
The little pop guys she loved. A giant kazoo. We got a ball. We got a unicorn mug. Because she is so into unicorns right now.
Very nice.
And then one other thing I'm not remembering.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah, we got 5 or 6 things. We had 8,000 tickets, so.
I never know if that's a lot or not in arcades because they're like, that'll be 40,000 tickets for a Chinese finger trap, please.
Well, let me put it this way. They had real appliances. They had like a nice blender for 20,000 tickets.
Oh. So we're halfway there almost.
That's right. So yeah, we had to have a nice date day. We got to celebrate the kid's birthday. And then Tuesday, the day of her actual birthday, yesterday, the day before we're recording, we had our big announcement event in the morning. So I went in for that to make sure nothing exploded. And then I took a half day and came home, and we picked up Anna and Joyce, and we took her to her first movie on the big screen.
Oh, I didn't realize it'd be our first. What was it?
I found one of the only theaters still playing Toy Story 4.
Nice.
Within 20 miles of us. And so we drove down and took her to see Toy Story 4.
Did she like it?
Oh, yeah. She was smitten. Today, earlier, she asked if we could watch it.
Oh. Has she seen the other 3?
Oh, my gosh, has she seen the other 3?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's why we knew it was a safe bet.
Right. You weren't going to waste your money on that.
A good birthday, and she's a little 3-year-old nightmare now.
Oh, I have to mention, since you said birthdays, today, as we're recording, is September 11th.
It's your mom's birthday.
My mom's birthday. And so, Mom, if you're listening to this later on down the line, happy birthday. And we're celebrating by doing something that we both enjoy, which we're watching the Democratic debates tomorrow night, Thursday, at our place, having some dinner and just relaxing and probably yelling at the screen and enjoying the discussions afterwards. So,
happy birthday, Karen.
Happy birthday.
Well, I guess that takes us into some nerd news.
Does it? Oh, my God.
It's time for Nerdy News.
All right. I got something very fun and interesting. So there was a study run at the University of California, Los Angeles, where they've discovered a pharmaceutical cocktail of sorts that might reverse the aging process in humans. and it's
Ooh.
pretty exciting. So 9 volunteers were given a mixture of a certain growth hormone and diabetes medication. They only need the growth hormone, but they have to give them the diabetes medication because the growth hormone can cause diabetes. So with the with the mixture of that medication, they don't get those pre-diabetic symptoms. And so they over a year, these volunteers took this cocktail, and they came back, and all 9 volunteers came back 2.5 years younger than when they started the campaign, or when they started the volunteer thing, with no apparent negative side effects. And they judged the aging of 2.5 years by doing several epigenetic tests, like certain telomeres and things like that. And mainly it's by the thymus gland is what they're targeting, which gathers fatty tissue as you age, and it kind of ages your whole body hormonally. But this cocktail somehow removed the fatty tissue and replaced it with new tissue, new healthy tissue. So basically they expected it to stop aging a little bit, or like kind of slow it down, but instead they were actually younger than when they first started the trial. So
wow,
it's pretty nuts. And they're like, well, everybody hold your horses though. This is only 9 people. We need to like actually do more tests and more subjects and see where it goes. But even after a year later, after the test was done and they had stopped taking the cocktail, they were still slowly de-aging. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, that's a little bit nuts.
It is a little nuts, but I figured we'd get there eventually. It's figuring out some kind of thing to make rich people not age, but
yeah, you just inject $1 million directly into your veins.
Literal dollars.
Yep.
Just grind them
rolled up
that,
real tight.
That blender you got, and just put it right then. So that was it.
So my story has a cheeky title, and that's if you keep doing that, you're going to go blind.
Oh.
So a study has been done on honeybees and honeybee queens. When a hive gets to a certain size and a queen is born, she takes half the hive and she goes and finds a new home for it. And then once she sets up the new hive, she has a very short amount of time where she is still small enough and mobile enough that she can go out and find mates. Mm-hmm. So the queen sets out on her own and goes out to find mates. So queens only do this at the beginning of their life. And then the DNA they collect has to last them their entire run. They don't mate after this period. And so what they have found is that male bees, their seminal fluid messes up the queen's receptors in her brain for vision and makes her basically blind or severely interferes with her vision, with the idea being that they don't want her mating with more than one male.
Oh.
So they mate with her. She goes back to the hive, goes blind, and then she can't go out anymore.
But what if they mate unsuccessfully?
So there are times that that if a queen bee gets knocked up on the first try, effectively, she will take additional trips out. But in this study, they found that queens that went back out for additional trips had a higher percentage of not coming back or getting lost.
Oh, because they're more blind at that point.
Right. So yeah, male bees really ensure
they'll go blind.
That they're the last one the queens are gonna have.
Oh, God. Male animal kingdom sex is very weird on occasion.
That's right. Well, I remember I also reported on bees where there's a certain type of bee that when they climax, it's so hard their junk blows off.
Oh God.
So just remember that bees have a lot of crazy stuff going on.
All right, from my romance novels, a lot of them involve like alpha werewolves and beta werewolves and stuff,
and nodding and stuff.
Yeah, the nodding.
You've mentioned this.
Ugh. But like apparently real wolves, they like knot inside of the female wolf until they're done, and then they unknot so they can come out. So they basically
then their junk explodes.
Their junk explodes and they go blind. So we got it pretty good, humans.
So that's, if you keep doing that, you're gonna go blind.
Literally. And now we have something in the D&D world.
Let the Dungeons and the Dragons begin. It's D&D. Fighting with the legends of yore. It's D&D.
All right, what you got for us this week, Steve?
Okay, so this is not quite Dopey Dungeons and Dragons because I was not aiming to create a specific character. But I kind of accidentally discovered like the most powerful build in D&D.
Uh-huh.
On like a complete whim, discovered this. So just imagine this. Imagine that you are the ultimate face.
Face character meaning the talking character of the group who.
Yep, the one that's expected to be persuasive or deceptive, highly charismatic. So you're the face. You are the main healer.
Uh-huh.
You are the skill monkey. And you're the knowledge guy. And you have 18 AC.
Uh-huh.
Imagine all of these things. That is the character that I designed.
So it's broken, basically.
I don't know if it's broken. I stumbled upon it by complete accident. So you take one level in cleric. You take the knowledge domain, which gets you double proficiency in 2 knowledge things. So you have double proficiency. I took Arcana and History, but you could take any mix, which means you're going to get to roll double your proficiency bonus the entire time. Anytime you do it, you get to roll double your proficiency bonus.
Nice.
So then basically the way I did it is I made a cleric with only +2 wisdom, their main stat, and then put +3 in charisma. And then for second level, I went bard. And then you just go bard from there on out.
Gotcha.
So with the bard, you boost charisma. So you can be the main healer because bard also has really heavy healing. Your cleric stuff all becomes utility and fun stuff. You get heavy armor proficiency from being a cleric,
nice.
Which is awesome. So you become the main healer. Then you can take expertise in 2 of the face skills. Persuasion, deception are probably the 2 most likely. So then you're a super face on top of that because you're getting double expertise in that, double your proficiency bonus in that. And then on top of that, you have 18 AC with the base level heavy armor.
Right, like starting plate kind of thing.
Or I guess medium armor in this build specifically.
Gotcha.
And you're like a beast. At level 5, you're rolling at +10 in persuasion and deception and +8 in Arcana and History, or whichever 2 intelligence ones you chose. And then additionally, you've got skill monkey stuff out the butt. You're not rolling at anything less than like a 3.
That's pretty
for
amazing.
every skill.
So pretty much the only thing you're not doing is pumping out a lot of damage.
That's the thing. You're not going to pump out a lot of damage, and that is the real weakness of the build. But you have so much utility. If you can't find something to do, you're doing something wrong.
And plus, you'll never be in a group where there's not somebody who picked a high damage character because everyone picks that first.
Yes, that is true. So yeah, you get to be the main healer. You get some crazy good defense, crazy good socials, knowledge stuff, and you get to do all these things.
You need some great name for this character now, the kind of character that it is.
I don't know. The Chosen One? That seems right.
You are the Chosen One.
So then one of the guys I'm playing with, I told him about this. He's like, well, that character can do too many things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, let me dial back one of those because he's right. I don't want to take 3 rolls out of the group. Like, that's not fair if I'm all those guys.
You're just helping all of them with it.
So I started moving a few things around and then accidentally stumbled across another insane build. So start level 1 cleric. You take the nature domain.
Mm-hmm.
You get speak with animals and animal friendship. And then you get to choose between survival and animal handling and a couple others, basically druidy kind of things.
Right.
But the important piece here is you get 1 druid cantrip of your choice. And you choose Shillelagh.
Shillelagh.
So what Shillelagh does is you can touch a quarterstaff or a club, and it turns it into a magical 1d8 that you get to add your wisdom modifier to.
Uh-huh.
So you take 1 level in cleric, which is already wisdom high. Then, and here's where shit gets insane. You switch to fighter.
Mm.
Then you take the rest in fighter, Eldritch Knight, but you always use the Shillelagh or the club. So right off the bat, you're rolling 1d8 +3. And then you go Eldritch Knight. So you get even more spellcasting and more utility and more defense stuff. So you turn into a wisdom-based Eldritch Knight with like an AC of 19 or 20, something like that.
That's crazy. Yeah,
We're
if you
right,
guys
but
know 5th edition, this is nuts.
Okay, so here's the best part. Because you are stacking wisdom, all of the cleric spells that would normally be throwaways when you take a 1-level dip stay entirely relevant. Because normally if you're taking a 1-level dip, you're only going to put +2 in there to get the dip, and then those aren't going to stack. You're going to stop casting those. but by stacking Wiz, they stay, like, you can still use Sacred Flame. And because of that, all your heals from Cleric also stay relevant.
So you're doing
and
lots
then as
of
you
damage
gain levels
and
in Eldritch
defense
Knight,
and heals.
Yeah. So you're not going to really be the main heal, but the way I think of it is Nature's Warrior is the way I put it together in my head.
That makes sense.
And it's sort of like a better version of what I think the Ranger could be.
Yeah, because Ranger's been really unpopular in this edition of D&D.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
there really is a reason. So by me just doing a couple tweaks, I found 2 just incredibly powerful builds.
Are those going to be your next characters?
I don't know, because my DM hates this shit.
You getting all crunchy on everything?
He really hates that I get crunchy. But it's really where I dig my teeth in. It's where I find a lot of my enjoyment, so he can eat it. Because that's how I enjoy the game.
But then you also get into character and everything when you play, so not so bad.
I really do. But yeah, he hates when I ask him technical questions and crunchy questions, that kind of stuff. He really hates it.
Yeah, I don't know how much more. I'm surprised you like Dungeon World, because that's not very crunchy at all.
It's just both sides of a coin. I think that's the thing. And like the creation is crunchy, but then once you're in the game, you're in the game.
Yeah, it's a different story at that point. Creation's its own.
Yeah, at that point, that's the thing. At that point, you're that character, and then it's what can you do within that character.
Right. Well, I enjoyed those very much. I might steal some of that for my own campaigns.
Wisdom-based fighter.
And it's Nature's Warrior.
Nature's Warrior. It's so spectacular.
Speaking of nature,
I've got a couple. Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, you're right. Good segue.
What were you gonna say? I have a couple what?
I know. Good segue into Dark Crystal Age.
Yes.
Nature's Warriors.
It's a little bit of the wonderful music from the show. Such good music.
All right. So Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is maybe, I can say, the thing in my adult life I have had nerded out about the most.
Indeed.
I don't think I have ever anticipated the release of a TV show as much as Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
Fair enough. Not even the new Muppet Show.
No, I stayed up until midnight just so I could watch one episode.
That's impressive
from
for you these
midnight
days.
to 1:05 to then get up the next morning at 6:30 to go to work.
Oh goodness.
That is how excited I was for Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. And I'm so happy to say that overall, I, even as a super fan, a super picky super fan, was blown away.
That's impressive.
Was blown away.
And this has been 10, 15 years in the making in some form or another, wanting to make a movie. Then they wanted to figure out how to make a cartoon show. Then it finally came around to this opportunity at Netflix, 10 years down the line.
Do a live action. And then they said, well, we're going to need all this money. And Netflix said, fine.
There you go. Here's the monies.
Take it. And then to boot, the creative talent behind this is a really mixed bag that shows that you aren't always going to get what you expect out of the creative talent you put in.
Yeah, their powers combined, basically.
The director was this French guy. Let me see. I had this up.
Who directed The Incredible Hulk, the MCU Hulk
The
movie.
Incredible Hulk and a transporter film.
Yeah. It's a very weird choice.
Yes, an extremely weird choice. There's nothing in his background that you would think would say, oh yeah, he's going to do an epic fantasy with puppets.
Yeah.
And then you look at the two, the co-executive producers and writers, Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, who are the developers, co-producers, and writers, who have done almost nothing you've heard of before this.
Weird.
One of them has a couple unacted, a bunch of them have very minor acting roles. And then he was a producer on 2 shorts and then The Dark Crystal. And the other guy had written for 2 shorts and then The Dark Crystal.
How did they get that connect? They must have a good agent.
I have no idea.
Well, you watched
and even they sounded surprised.
Did you watch the behind the scenes documentary?
I did.
How they kind of walked in and pitched them and they were just okay, you're good. You're on. I guess they had
passion
passion for it.
They didn't realize that they were going to be pitching Dark Crystal to Lisa Henson at lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is
they
serious.
didn't understand what they were there for. But yeah, like they took this crazy creative talent, this director who runs his own camera during filming, which is like super not acceptable.
It's kind of hard to do. You have to get
the professional world.
Yeah, both unions have to agree to allow that to happen because it's
right. Because otherwise, the director can't physically handle the camera.
Exactly. It's a lot of work too. And apparently, he did a lot of the editing himself as well, which is like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Man?
But I mean, I thought it was great, and it just shows you that you can be surprised.
Yeah, because you were hoping for the
really
best,
surprised.
but not expecting the best, I imagine.
No. When I saw this lineup, like, yeah, the cast was really good, but the creative talent, besides the Frauds, who I trust, like, I just didn't get it.
And for those who don't know the Frauds, they've worked on Henson's stuff and creature creation for 40 years now or something.
Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. He did all the creature and concept design for both. His son, who is now in the family business, was the baby in Labyrinth.
The babe with the power.
What power?
Power of voodoo.
So they were involved, and you can see the Frauds all over this production. It's just so good. So good. I was blown away.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess we should talk a little bit. If you haven't seen the movie Dark Crystal from 1982, you probably should. We actually reviewed it, I think, on the podcast just by itself, because we're doing all of our favorite movies. It was one of your favorites.
It was Dark Crystal and Zero Charisma was the pair movie.
That's right. Two of our favorites.
That's right. And this is set a couple hundred years prior to the events of the Dark Crystal and shows you the events leading up to it, the fall of the Gelfling, the rise of the Skeksis, the corruption of Thra, what the hell happened to Agra.
And you told me an amazing story, I think, about how this came about. Was Jim Henson and his daughter in the airport or something?
Yeah, they got like stuck on a flight or stuck in an airport. And so they just started coming up with like, what would a land of good and evil? And they started sketching out these ideas and characters and forces, and a lot of the names are still similar. The world they created was called Mithra.
Ah.
And then it turns out that was a land in another book or something, so it just became Thra.
Nice.
But even some of the essence of that original, like those original sketches, is still in the world. Which
is crazy. They're sitting around in an airport, getting bored, and thought of this whole world, or started thinking.
The mind of Jim Henson.
And his daughter.
So you as a casual observer, what did you like about it?
Well, I really, just right off the bat with the preview, when we reviewed the preview, I was just like, wow, the scope of this is ridiculous. And like, how have we not heard more about this production? Because it had been a couple years in production.
Of course, yeah.
And they're kind of keeping it under wraps a little bit. And then when that trailer released, it was just like, this is incredible, the scale of this. And just how beautiful it was. And it was, the story of the whole thing is kind of complicated. So you have to really pay attention, especially in the beginning scene when Sigourney Weaver's voice is explaining everything. Kind of giving a history, because it is complicated. These beings come to Thra, and then they work with Agra to give her a thing where she can look out into the universe.
And she entrusts them with a crystal of truth.
Right, and they corrupt it somehow, which then splits them into two, so they become the Mystics and the Skeksis. And they're still connected to each other, so if a Mystic gets hurt, that same Skeksis will get hurt. It's complicated. But
yeah, there's a lot.
But just the character designs are amazing, and they took everything from the movie and just didn't change it too much, but just improved upon it, made it look a little prettier and more well put together. And
and they introduced new characters, which I thought was great.
Yeah, it made the
and they left room for more characters, which is awesome.
Because I saw in the original movie, because I rewatched the movie after I finished the series, that there are more Skeksis around. And they had a throwaway line in the series where like some of the Skeksis are out doing stuff elsewhere. So like,
yeah. So originally there were 18 Urskeks that landed, which are like the original things that split. So after the split, 2 Uru and 2 Urskeks died sort of in the initial struggle.
So down to 16.
So down to 16. And then I think they made reference to at least someone else dying at some point. So we might be down to 15. But yeah, we see 9. There is at least one that's in the next movie, that's in the movie that isn't in this one.
Right.
And then they make reference to at least 2 or 3 others.
Or just around somewhere else.
Right. Well, one of them is like the seafarer. So in theory, he's out on a ship somewhere. One of them is the Gartham Master from the next movie. One of them is the Slave Master from the movie. And in theory, they didn't have any slaves at the time, so they didn't need a Slave Master, so he wasn't there. The Gartham didn't exist, so the Gartham Master wasn't there.
Gotcha. What's the Gartham?
You know, like those sort of things.
Oh, those big creatures?
Yeah, right at the end.
Right. Oh, yeah, by the way, folks, there will be...
Spoilers. Yeah, spoilers. Thank you for that.
Gotta play the whole thing.
It would be inappropriate otherwise.
All right, so we haven't given away any major spoilers yet, but now we will at some point.
So there are three major plot lines that drive this story. The first is one of Rienne, who is a young guard at the Skeksis Palace, the Palace of the Crystal, where he is a faithful servant of the Skeksis, and they are revered, and his father is the head of the guard. And the Skeksis are getting ready to go out for a day of penance where basically all the Gelflings give them things.
Right.
For being the Lords of the Crystal.
Voluntarily.
So a creature escapes the scientist's lab. Rienne goes to hunt it down while his father is away with the Skeksis. And that is when his girlfriend, Vera, gets caught in a sort of forbidden zone.
Right. She gets, was she in the crystal room, I think?
No, she was in like the catacombs.
Oh, okay.
She was down below. So she gets caught, and then meanwhile, the Skeksis have been draining life out of the crystal, which is what has corrupted it and turned it dark. And it is giving them less and less energy because it has less and less energy to give.
Right.
So the Emperor, Skekso, commissions the scientist to come up with a solution, and the scientist figures that with the crystal, he can use the crystal to drain essence out of creatures and then capture it for them to keep them alive.
Played by Mark Hamill, fantastically.
Great. There were one or two times where it really went jokery.
Yeah,
like, I'm not gonna lie.
Just a couple
there were
times.
A few times it went really jokery, but most of the time it was fine.
I will train you.
Yes,
wonderful.
that was those moments. So the Skeksis have come into his lab. He invites in Vera the Gelfling, who he uses the crystal and drains her vital essence.
And she just vaporizes.
And the Skeksis drink it, and they're filled with power and vigor and strength. And that's when they realize that to live forever, they have to keep drinking essence.
And Rienne sees all this.
Witnesses his girlfriend die. They see him. And so now they start spreading rumors that he is the one that killed her, and he's like a Gelfling against the Skeksis, and now all the other Gelfling are looking for him.
He's on the run.
So that's like plot one.
And then plot two, we go into the caves and meet
That's
lovely
right.
Deet.
I loved Deet.
My favorite
She was
character.
such a good character. Deet is a Grotton. Grottons are the underground Gelfling and sort of seen as the lowest of them all and treated sort of like secondhand citizens. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. She has started to see signs of what she's later told by a tree, oddly enough, is called the Darkening, a corruption of Thra coming up from the ground that the great trees have tried to keep in check, but now they can't anymore.
Right. They don't know why it's happening yet.
The tree tasks her with going out into the world and discovering what happened to take this message to the All Madra, who is the Queen of Queens
of all the Geth,
to warn them about the darkening that is coming. So that's plot two. It's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to the All Madra, and I can't remember the name of the city up in the mountains.
Oh, I can't remember either.
But the highest clan of the 7 clans, the highest one, the All Madra and her daughters, and she has a daughter who's a bookworm, and she is the one that, Brea, and she is sort of the third path of this story.
And her evil stepsister or evil sister, Cellophane, I think.
Yes, Cellophane. That sounds right.
I think it was Cellophane, and then Tavra was the middle sister, who's like
Tavra,
really wise and sweet.
And damn it, Annika. No, that's not Celadon.
That's Cellophane.
So they're preparing for the Skeksis to arrive to accept their gifts, and for the first time, she gets to witness the Skeksis come. She ends up riding with them in their carriage and kind of befriending the Scroll Keeper in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
but then also gets to witness the greed of the Skeksis firsthand, and kind of comes to the realization of sort of the messed up role that her mom plays in this.
Yeah, because in the tithing, the Skeksis demand something from each person, and the farmers don't have any food to give, so they demand this necklace around the daughter's neck, and it's the only memory of their mother they have. Her memories are actually in the necklace magically, and they still take it. And then her mom gets the necklace later on, so she's all pissed
right,
off
and
about
that's the nail in the coffin, that she realizes her mom is part of this oppressive thing.
Right. So that kind of helps her go in emotion. So when she finds Rianne later, she's more likely to believe him and, join his side.
So that's really like the first episode, is you get this taste of the 3 different stories that are going to be happening.
Right. And I didn't think about it that way, how there really is those 3 stories that kind of combine and become one.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So the second episode starts with Agra in her observatory, and she wakes up after someone did interpret it, how many years it was, a couple hundred trying years, where she's been out astrally projecting herself into the universe to discover mysteries, while Thra falls apart around her. And it's the call of Thra that brings her back.
Yeah, she crazy.
I love Agra.
And she's so much better
I thought
in the
this
show.
was a great portrayal of her.
Yeah,
Just
so much better in the show than in the movie. She's like an improvement for sure.
Deet, meanwhile, tries to make her way to the capital city. She has to wear a blindfold because she's not used to
the sun.
The sun. And oh gosh. Oh, and then she gets attacked by a big spider thing, and then Hup, who is the fan favorite character standalone, a podling who's basically a little potato person who wants to become a paladin, like a palace guard,
with his spoon,
comes to her rescue with his spoon. And Hup is just delightful, delightful for the entire show. And I was so afraid they were going to kill him off.
Well, one of the few main characters that is voiced and performed by the same person, so it's not a celebrity person, but a puppeteer who's voicing.
Oh yeah, he's a Muppeteer.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Brea, the princess, is trying to find to sort of learn what this symbol means. So she goes to the Gelflings that are sort of the keepers of the symbol, is the way that it's described. There we get an Eddie Izzard character who's kind of forgettable. That was one of my more sort of regrettable parts of the show.
I like that character. It's just that he didn't go anywhere.
I did too. He didn't have any motivation. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't pay off. So it was like, why did we do that?
Yeah, they could have fleshed him out a little bit more, but that accent was great and it was just fun to listen to.
And then one of his assistants says, go and steal the finest jewel out of your mother's room and bring it to me, and I will tell you the secret that you seek. So she sets off to steal this jewel. Meanwhile, Rianne is like hiding in the castle, trying to escape. He convinces one of his buddies and dream fast with him, which is this ability the Gelflings had where they can share their memories.
It's a little awkwardly sexual at times, but
it is.
Yeah,
there are insinuations. Absolutely.
They put their hands close together and they go, ah.
Right. So he gets this vision and he sees that Rianne didn't kill his girlfriend and the Skeksis did it. And so they have to steal her essence to prove to the other Gelflings that the Skeksis are doing this terrible thing. They break into the scientist's lab. Chamberlain is also there causing havoc and trouble. And they're able to steal the essence. Unfortunately, Rianne's friend gets captured, but Rianne makes it out. So now Rianne is on an adventure to seek the Allmadr to show her this essence and convince them that the Skeksis are doing this terrible thing.
And the Gelfling need to rise up in a resistance, if you will.
An age of it, even. So then the scientist gets blamed for the essence being gone. And they do the peeper beetle, which is one of the darker moments in the entire show. There are a lot of dark moments in this show. Basically, the punishment is that he has a cage put over his head, and they release a beetle that only eats eyeballs into this cage, and it eats the scientist's eye.
And
that pays off why he has that thing in the movie.
Yeah, I was noticing that when I saw the movie, like, oh, he has a thing. That makes total sense.
So then we're on to episode 3. Deet and Hup find themselves in like an unwelcome village in the Stonewood clan because she's a second-hand citizen, he's a podling. They get into a fight. Hup like kicks some ass for a little potato person, but then inevitably gets arrested, and Deet vows to get him out.
Potato person.
That is where Deet and Rienne's path cross for the first time, because he is going to tell the Madra of the Stonewood clan what he has seen.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, he tells her the story, and then she reveals that his father is there to take him back.
Because he thinks he's
so
crazy.
that the Skeksis can heal him of his mind illness.
Played by Mark Strong, his father.
They try to capture Rienne. Rienne escapes, and after he escapes, that is where he runs into Deet in the forest.
Deet.
Where they had their first real meeting. Deet then gets inspiration from him and is going to go free Hup, who has been locked away, and she vowed she'd get out.
She becomes a monster by being hidden in the shadows, eating some of her crazy space dust stuff from her caverns and turning her eyes purple, and then just flying around, scaring all the guards. It works.
Meanwhile, the princess, her mom has found out that she went and saw this elder of this other group, and then essentially poisoned him and wiped his memory. So she is being sent for a year in the Order of Lesser Service, which are like gelflings punished by doing the worst jobs, is the idea.
Like cleaning the potato people.
Right. And then they reveal there is a holiday, one time a shrine, where they have to clean the potato people. And that's what she's there for. And I thought this scene was delightful. It was a little overdrawn.
Yes.
I'm willing to admit that it went on too long. But it was really very delightful.
And that was my one complaint. We'll just kind of take a break for a second. Is that
they indulged a few times.
A few scenes went too long because I think the crew and cast was having way too much fun. Like the eating scene with the Skeksis was too long and was just overly gross, but just like went on a long time. And then this podling scene. So I was like, yeah, it's just a little bit of them having a little too much fun at the expense of things just getting maybe a little boring at times. But still, you're looking at the whole world, and it's so beautiful. Like you're like, okay,
and that's the thing. It was enough to take in that it was almost forgivable.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, nearly. And really, a lot of it was to show like the beauty and grace of the Gelfling, the cruelty of the Skeksis. I think of the eating scene you just mentioned, where you get to like watch a turtle that's been like baked into a pie get stabbed in the head.
Ugh, yeah,
right, like that kind of stuff.
Dark stuff.
So she escapes the Order of the lesser service and goes and hides in the woods, only to be found by her sister, who has been sent to find Rienne, the murderer. She goes back with Harar to Harar, and that's when she goes into her mother's room and steals the brightest gem, which turns out to be a chrysalis, a cocoon on her ceiling. She then takes it back to Annika, who's the advisor who told her to take it, and that's when she reveals that the moth inside of it will take her to the secrets that she desires.
I think I looked away for part of that scene, so I was really confused when she then like.
Yeah, so she releases this moth and says, like, where can I find the answers? And the moth flies off. She follows it, and it leads her back to the throne room, where it lands on the throne and reveals a secret door down into an ancient cave that's been under their feet the whole time.
And there's all the symbols of the different tribes of the Gelfling in there, and it says in the message to like put them in order of importance or something like that.
Yeah, the secret will be revealed when order is restored. And so she starts trying to put them in order, but she can't figure out the pattern, and nothing makes sense. And the reason that nothing makes sense is because basically the joke is that there is no order amongst the Gelflings.
They're all
equal, but the Skeksis effectively have tricked them into this class system that keeps them at each other's throats.
So she puts the little emblem down that she found, and it suddenly turns into a big rock monster named Lore, who's there to help her and protect her.
I loved Lore. I don't feel like he paid off quite the way he should have.
Right. I did like that he had the little record player on his arm. That was adorable.
That was very clever. And the fact that he was an actual puppet was just in itself cool enough that I just kind of forgave most of the rest.
The problem was the puppet was so good, I thought it was CG. And so then when we saw the behind the scenes thing, I was like, wait, that was a puppet? This is insane.
See, I thought part of it was CG.
I think some of it must have been.
I thought the body was real, but I thought the head, because it had that articulation and the movement, I thought that was CG on top.
Hard to tell.
So she finds Lore, this stone giant who is now like her protector and guide and gonna give her guidance. Meanwhile, Deet frees Hup, and they continue on their journey to Harar.
Harar.
So the Skeksis are having a banquet. This is that big eating scene that you mentioned. Right. And that's when the Emperor kind of realizes that he's falling apart.
Yeah, his finger starts to come off.
Oozing pus and literally pulls his finger off. And that's when, sort of recognizing his own demise at hand, is when he basically says, we need more essence. So that's when he says, okay, let's go take volunteers from the Gelfling clans, and we'll tell them it's for some fight we need to fight, and really we'll just drain them, and we'll only take what we need.
Yeah. Starting off small.
Yeah, great. I mean, not great, but better than what ended up happening.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember when they go to see the flying people. That's later.
Yeah, that's like 2 or 3 episodes later. There's so much in the middle. It's incredible. Agra is on this mission. She goes to the Crystal Palace and confronts the Skeksis about the terrible thing they did to the crystal. She gets an idea of what is needed to save the crystal. She has to talk to Thra, but she's forgotten how to talk to Thra. She's been gone so long.
And Thra is
so then she encounters one of the mystics, the archer, who gives her guidance, but really just gives her more mysteries to uncover, where she realizes she has to sit and listen to Thra in order to learn Thra's song again. There's a lot of kind of existential kind of stuff thrown in here. A
lot of reoccurring themes in the show of equality and how no one's better than anybody else. That's repeated throughout the whole show, like not just with the Gelfling, but it's a big thing in the show.
Right.
All the creatures are equal.
So kind of being cast down, Skeksil, who's the Chamberlain, signals a horn to call the hunter. And we get to see, in this case, a Skeksis that is like physically imposing in a way that no other Skeksis has been thus far.
Because the rest of them are kind of like slow moving and kind of decrepit.
But he is monstrous.
Yeah, and a whole different kind of puppet as well.
And Skeksil basically says, look, there's this terrible Gelfling who's troubling us. Go hunt him down. And the hunter goes, and now the hunter is after Rian.
And he's intense.
They gather the volunteers. The All Madra finally mind melds with her daughter to see the terrible things the Skeksis have done are doing, and then refuses to release the volunteers to the Skeksis, and they kill her.
That was really shocking. Like, bam.
Leaving her oldest daughter now as the All Madra.
Helena Bonham Carter.
The All Madra inherent.
Mm-hmm. The bratty daughter.
Yes. So then, oh my God. Hup and Deet go and infiltrate the castle, with Deet dressed up like a fancy lady. They get stopped, and then Deet goes into a dream fast that is simultaneously happening with like all the heroes of Thra. So this is where all the characters kind of align together at once. And they see Agra, who's also in the dream space, and tells them that they are the heroes and that the Skeksis must be stopped if balance is going to come back to Thra.
How did that start? How did she suddenly go into that state?
I can't even remember.
I don't remember that either.
So much. I think Agra remembers how to talk to Thra, and in so doing is able to enter the dream space or something.
And talk to the important people.
And then she sends Celadon back, because Celadon is clearly still in with the Skeksis.
Yes, and little nuts.
Yes. So the Skeksis are headed back to their palace with the volunteers. They get caught up to the volunteers are freed. And Rien tells the paladins, the other guards, that they have to go and start telling what the Skeksis have done. The Crystal Guard back at the palace has heard these rumors and they start a rebellion, but one loyal Gelfling rats them out, and the Skeksis murder all of them.
Yep. And even the one who ratted them out.
Eventually the one that ratted them out. Yeah, absolutely. So back in Harar, Celadon has sent out the pieces of the crown, which summon the Madras in to basically crown her the All Madra. It's like this thing that's happened over and over again.
All the other queens from the different tribes.
But the Queen of the Stonewood believes that the Skeksis are up to this thing, and basically refuses to grant her blessing and challenges Celadon for the crown. They have a fight. Celadon wins, essentially, and becomes the new All Madra, kind of.
Right, and makes her own
she
crown.
Like denounces the claim, but she's still in charge. Like, it's that sort of thing. So then, meanwhile, Lore has told Rien and Deet and Hup and whoever the hell else that are now all together that they need to go to the Palace of the Sun or something like that.
to go see
out
the
in the
heretic.
Crystal Sea, to reveal the secret of how the Skeksis can be defeated. So they go out. They meet this other clan of Gelfling who are dark skinned and sort of. They're classified as like mystics almost. I call them the Avatar. They worship death. They're kind of Avatar-y. Yeah, I'll give you that. And convince them to take them out to the shrine they need to get to. They get there, and then this was a great twist that even I, as a hardcore fan, was not expecting. And that is, they meet a Skeksis who is not a terrible person.
Yeah,
living with his other mystic half,
which is pretty cool.
And that's when they reveal through a song and dance and musical kind of, and then puppetry, a puppet show within a puppet show, which I thought was also excellent, that the history of Thra is not quite what they've been told.
And I love that it was Bill Hader as the mystic and Adam Sandberg as the heretic, the Skeksis. And then for the puppet show, they got a famous,
a YouTuber,
this kid who has smaller hands, obviously, so he could get in the shot. He was a really good puppeteer, and they just found him on YouTube and like hired him for it. I thought that was great.
And so they want to reunite the Skeksis and the Urus, who used to be one being called the Urskek, so that they can be made whole again. Then they are ambushed by Skekmal, the hunter, who has come for Rian and come for his prize. Skekmal gets hit by 2 arrows. The archer is there to stop him, but in shooting Skekmal, the archer also hurts himself
because they're
both gravely wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Skekmal does escape just barely. Oh man, what happened next? I was on such a good roll. I had such a good idea of what happened. Skekmal goes back. The Skeksis have this like existential crisis of like, we can't die. If he dies, then we're all going to die. So they do everything in their power to make him not die. They drain all this essence from all these Gelflings. And then Agra shows up and offers herself in exchange for one of the princesses to have her essence drained.
Right. She's like, the Gelfling essence is going to cut it. You got to use mine.
So she sacrifices herself. She disappears in like a puff of light. But the hunter and in turn, the archer don't come back. At least not then.
And they decide to take the hunter's body and just put it up in the main hall as if in all his armor, just pretend he's still around because they don't admit that he died.
So now that the hunter's gone, the emperor needs a new army. So he turns to this thing called the Ascendancy, which is essentially a bug hive.
Like the Borg.
These huge arachnid kind of things that agree to help the Skeksis in exchange for their homeland back.
And they do like
the caves that Deed is from.
They do like a throwback kind of to Labyrinth because the spider creatures form into like hands that make mouths and faces. Talk. Very much like Labyrinth.
That was real good. So the Ascensi go, they attack the caves, they enslave all the Gelfling with these like face sucker things that mind control them.
Yes.
And then upon Deet, then Deet and Rien are told by the heretic that they have to retrieve this dual glaive, this double piece sword that has the power to unite the Gelfling clans and to stop the Skeksis.
Which you may know if you play D&D or read fantasy books that a glaive is not a sword, but they just kind of conflated those things in this movie.
Yeah, they just threw it in there.
Yeah.
So one of the pieces is in the caves, and that's why they go there. And then that's when they discover that these face sucker things have taken over the Gelfling there. And the other one, they don't know quite where, I think. Or it was entrusted to the Stonewoods. I can't quite remember.
Well, they don't know that yet. Yeah.
So they go, they rescue her baby sister, who has this thing on her face. And that's when the Ascendancy makes a deal with the Gelfling to align against the Skeksis. Because the Ascendancy realizes that the Skeksis lied to them. And that the caves that they promised them had the darkening all in them, and they would eventually be corrupted and die.
Yep.
So the Ascendancy, the hive mind, turns on the Skeksis.
So
I thought that was pretty neat.
All
it
the
didn't
Gelfling
play out, but I thought it was pretty neat.
Potato people and the spider people all working together to defeat the Skeksis.
So then Celadon goes to the Skeksi castle, the castle of the crystal, and basically pledges her loyalty to the emperor. And he basically spits in that loyalty and says, "Now we're gonna kill y'all
and eat your ass."
And then she even bends so low as to like offer him the lives. She said 50 a year, and he's like, "No, that's not enough."
And all played by Jason Isaacs, who's amazing. It's that crazy commanding voice.
And then this actually is where Augur gives up her life to save the two princesses. There we go.
Yes. It all comes back together.
So Rian and Deet get half of the dual glaive, which the Madra down in the caves has been using as a walking stick for like 100 years.
Yeah.
They find out that the other half was hid stone in the woods, where Rian is from. So they head there to find the other piece of the dual glaive.
It's in this big crucible where people a long time ago, they threw all their swords so that they'd say, we don't need these anymore because we're not fighting, as a symbol. And but it's still in there. So he grabs it and then magic stuff happens.
That's right. He unites the two, and that gives them like a link to the crystal, and in turn, a link to all the Gelfling.
Like basically everyone has a fire. He can talk to
anyone
them.
has a fireplace. So he is now transmitting this message across all of Thra to all Gelfling of what the terrible things the Skeksis have done.
Pretty powerful.
And the Gelfling are called to reunite at Stone in the Wood to fight the Skeksis. Skekso hops on the channel like a mom picking up the phone in middle school and threatens them and says that Rian's a liar and that all rebellion will be crushed. But it's too late. The seeds of rebellion have been sowed.
Mm-hmm.
So they all meet at Stone in the Woods. Skekso reveals that the Emperor reveals he's trying to control the darkening to like enhance his power. They don't really get into it too much and they don't really pay it off heavily.
Yeah, it's like, because they only show it like twice where he's talking about his plan to use the darkening to put into his staff to somehow make him powerful.
So he orders the scientists to stay behind to start working on this new army of loyal warriors. And so the scientist remains behind to work on this while the rest of them go off to Stone in the Wood to crush the Gelfling rebellion. The general gets put into a fight with Rian, which, while it looks very good at first, he gets stabbed by the dual glaive, and then the pommel, a crystal in the pommel of the sword, glows and starts draining essence out of him.
That's what it was doing.
It was the same animation, so my assumption is that.
No, you're right. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it. And we should mention that
and
earlier on, when Deet was escaping from her home place, that she got the power of that magical tree that told her to go off on an adventure in the first place.
To absorb the darkening.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big part. Man, there's so much in this show. And so this is where, so as soon as that happened, I went, oh my God, the prophecy applies twice. The prophecy in the original is what once was sundered and undone will now be whole, the two made one by Gelfling hand or else by none.
The sword.
And I immediately went, the dual glaive matches that prophecy too. And in that moment that I put that together, I went, oh my God, the shard of the crystal is in the base of the sword. Before they ever revealed it.
Ah, yes.
It was such beautiful fan service that I was taken aback by it.
I didn't think about that.
But the exact same prophecy that ran the movie completely applied to this as well.
Nice. Good job, writers.
It was great. Yeah, great job, writers. To the point where like I was truly taken aback. So the general is like gravely wounded. The Chamberlain actually goes and stabs him, puts him out of his misery.
Well, against his will, but yeah.
Yeah. The hunter comes back and he finds Rian, is about to kill him. And then the archer sacrifices himself, jumps off a cliff, killing both of them.
But he's connected to him as a mystic.
So then the Gelflings start their attack. They're throwing bombs and people are flying and they're stabbing and jumping. And the battle scene was a little bit lackluster.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly the limitation of the puppets.
Yeah, a little bit confusing at times. They couldn't stay with one group for too long.
And then the Emperor unleashes the power of the darkening, which Deet absorbs and then redirects and blows up one of the Skeksis.
Yeah, the only female that was, well, one of the only females left.
Yes, one of the only females left.
Her pustules explode with her.
So Deet is now like darkened and purple and filled with the darkening. The Skeksis retreat and run away, and that's when they find the shard of the crystal.
Well, they run away only when the rest of the Gelflings suddenly show up and help them.
That's right, and the rest of the insurrection shows up, and they're forced to retreat.
For now.
They find the lost shard. Dee leaves the group because she is not sure what this new power means, and she like corrupts everything as she walks.
And she gets a little quiet and weird. Yeah, just takes off.
So then there are these characters that, the Grunaks, which were a gift to the scientist from the Chamberlain after he got his eye plucked out of his head by a bug.
Mm-hmm.
And they're these weird creatures, humanoids that we haven't seen anywhere else in the universe, whose mouths are sewed shut, who are said to be mechanically minded and are supposed to be the scientist helpers.
Right. And they look so familiar to me. I was like, these weren't around before?
They were so sad. And I remember I kept looking at Anna. I was like, I don't know how they're going to pay these things off. Like, it's so weird that they're including these two random things. So they finally like form their own insurrection against the scientist, who throws one of them into the pit and kills the other one brutally.
Yeah, it's like smashes his head in and blood spatters on his face. I'm like, this is not for children.
But then that's when he realizes he can use the corpse to merge it with the spider corpse to create his soldiers.
Somehow.
And that's where the Grunak and the Arathim become the Garthim.
The weird creatures that help him out and the spider people.
And so that's sort of how it ends, is them revealing the Garthim, which inevitably led to the downfall of the Gelfling.
Because apparently they get sent out and just murder all of them.
Yeah.
Happy ending.
There are a few loose ends. I really hope it gets a season 2.
Yeah. Well, they made all those damn costumes and sets. I think they might want to use a season 2.
They better. I'll be so disappointed if they don't. They left so much story open.
Well, it's gotten rave reviews, so I can't imagine they won't.
Yeah, there's money to be made. Okay, so here's the things I didn't necessarily like.
Okay.
I didn't feel like the music was assertive enough. I know you said you liked it, but it was such a huge part of the original film that anything less than what they did just felt a little underwhelming.
It wasn't present enough?
So if anything, it just wasn't present enough.
Gotcha.
It was definitely there. It just wasn't present enough in my book. I felt a little betrayed as an audience member and a fan, because I knew the lore as like a super fan, knew the lore of Thra. And so in the opening narration, when, Sigourney Weaver tells you something completely counter, like not completely, but just counter to what I knew, I was like, oh, that's weird. They decided to do that. And I kind of felt lied to.
Which part?
Because they're like, this is the history of Thra. And then 7 episodes later, they're like, oh yeah, we lied. That wasn't really the history of Thra, but we meant you to accept it as the history of Thra at the beginning of the show.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Because the thing is, the Skeksis didn't come down. It was the Urskeks who ruled for 1,000 years. And then at the next Great Conjunction, that is when they split into the Skeksis and the Uru.
That was confusing.
And they reveal that in the puppet show. But the opening thing that was meant to set up this world lied to us. And I felt kind of like, what?
The literal unreliable narrator.
It'd be fine to leave something out, but they literally told us the incorrect information.
Right. And then it made the Mystics confusing, because it's like, well, when did the Mystics show up then? If that doesn't make any sense.
The Grunaks were another part where I was like, why? They just felt like such a tack on through the whole show. And then my biggest problem is that they really wanted to differentiate the Gelfling, which I get. You got a bunch of little like mouse looking puppets. I get that you wanted to look different so the audience could tell them apart. I felt like there were certain Gelfling like types, the Stonewood specifically, whose faces were shaped in such a way that they couldn't emote.
Yeah.
Like Rien, the main guy character, his face had no movement. It was so aggravating to then see him next to a puppet like Deet, who had a ton of facial movement and could really express and have eye motions and stuff. And then to put her next to this like face that could barely move was so aggravating to me.
Well, the thing was with Deet too, is that they used CGI for her eyes.
They used CGI to augment a bunch of characters,
but especially her. Additionally, because they said her eyes were too big to like move with the hands, like a puppeteer. Mm-hmm. So all of her eye movements were CGI, just her in particular, which makes her even more lovable because all those facial expressions.
Right, but it just felt that certain types of puppets suffered, including the lead guy, like the lead of the of the story had no emotion.
I mean, I feel like Deet was more of the lead anyways. He was kind of boring and like a two-dimensional character. And I think Taron Egerton did a fine job playing him, voicing him, but it's just the character itself was kind of just uninteresting to me. The dad story, I guess, but
but that, and then I agree, there were times that it was just overindulgent, and they stayed in a scene a minute too long.
Yeah, and so there's some editing problems, which is really nitpicky. I'm just saying that there's a lot of scenes where they stayed on a Gelfling face, which already doesn't have much expression to give, for too long after the scene's over, like just staring at what just happened and not really moving. I'm like, why isn't this cut away yet? So it's like a little slow editing and but it's a very nitpicky thing.
But overall, even as a super fan, I was blown away. There were twists I weren't expecting. There was fan service that blew me away. I cannot say enough for the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
Yeah, and if you know nothing about the original movie, it's still worth watching. It's a lot of fun.
It's still an epiphanic good versus evil, all the archetypes you're expecting.
Great voice acting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful worlds, tons to take in. So this gets like 72 Raul Julias.
It gets 10 very, very pleased Raul Julias from me.
All right, good. Fair. I'll take that. So that's been Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. I recommend you check it out.
Yeah, and let us know what you guys think about the show. If you actually enjoyed it, if you thought it was missing something, or if it was the best thing you've ever seen in your life.
For me, it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's saying a lot. Damn.
I mean, as a super fan, I was truly blown away. But now let's talk. So while we're reviewing things, I guess that takes us into some trailer reviews.
It does. All right. So first one we got up here is called Knives Out. Now, this trailer came out a little while ago, but there's a kind of a lackluster amount of trailers out right now, mostly just horror flicks that are pretty dumb. So this one looks great. It's kind of a ensemble cast murder mystery thing. So let's go ahead and play that now.
I'm Detective Lieutenant Elliot, and this is Trooper Wagner. We just want to ask a few questions. We understand the night of his demise, the family have gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. How was it, by the way?
The party? Pre my dad's death? Oh, it was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request that you all stay until the investigation is completed.
What?
Can we ask why? Has something changed?
No.
No, it hasn't changed, or no, we can't ask.
I'm gonna live till I die.
You think one of his family
Walls.
killed? Is that what you're suggesting? You all love twisting the knife into one another.
Up your ass.
Oh, very nice.
Matter of fact,
Oh my God.
eat shit. How's that? Eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit.
Smug smile.
Definitely eat shit.
You know something. Spill it.
I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
I'm gonna live.
It's a twisted web. We are not finished untangling it, not yet.
What is this? CSI KFC? Until
I will say right at the get-go, that's been one of my favorite songs since I was a kid. So I'm happy to see it being used somewhere.
Nice.
Not a very popular Frank Sinatra song. What'd you think of the trailer?
It looks like a mix between Clue and Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah. I can see that.
I guess. I'm not sure. These movies have not done particularly well recently. That being said, the cast behind this is so impressive that maybe this one's going to break that mold.
Yeah, like we had the hotel one recently. Had John Hamm in it, a big old ensemble cast. That was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. These kind of movies are just, I always enjoy them. And this is written and directed by Rian Johnson, who did Looper, The Last Jedi. Just makes a lot of good stuff, I think. I like everything he's done.
Okay.
But this one has James Bond in it, Daniel Craig,
Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, one of the kids from It showed up very quickly. Christopher Plummer.
There's more.
There were a lot of names in it. A lot of names.
But it could be really good, or it could be a total dud. But I'm excited about it.
When you get that many good people on screen, it can turn into a competition, and that's when movies get bad.
Yeah, it's like too much at one time. So I'm kind of hoping they didn't show a lot of them in different places in the trailer. So I'm guessing they kind of start dropping off or dying.
Yeah, that would be my hope.
So it won't be too full the whole movie.
Yeah, you can't keep that many big names for that long.
And you can
This isn't
tell
a Marvel film.
Chris Evans was so excited just to be cursing because he's out of his Captain America role.
That was good.
Yeah. So I have 4 out of 5 Raul Julia's going, oh, very nice.
I have one Raul Julia, but in that really comfortable, like red velvet robe he has in Addams Family.
Fantastic. All right. So what do we have next?
Next one is not Knives Out, Jojo Rabbit. I read those backwards.
So here we go.
Here's Master Jojo. You're a top man. Prepare to leave the house.
Today you boys will be involved in such activities as 4 games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
When
I was your age, I had an imaginary friend. Got me in so much trouble.
Kids, it's time to burn some books.
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
Heil Hitler.
I wish more of our young boys had your blind fanaticism.
Did you know Jews can read each other's minds? But how would you know if you saw one? They could look just like us. Hi. You know what I am? Say it. A Jew. Gesundheit.
Sheesh, that was intense.
What am I going to do?
No idea.
Got it! I will
Burn
negotiate.
down the house and blame Winston Churchill. Or negotiate.
If I tell on you, you'll be in big trouble.
They'll never win. Love is the strongest thing in the world.
Your mother took me in. She's kind. She treats me like a person.
You two seem to be getting on well.
She doesn't seem like a bad person. I'm the enemy. You're not a Nazi, Jojo. You're a 10-year-old kid who likes dressing up in a funny uniform and wants to be part of a club. You okay? Oh, God. Nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah, I know. It's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi.
So this is by Taika Waititi, who did What We Do in the Shadows and Thor Ragnarok, and was it Where the Wildebeests Are?
Hunt for the Wilder People. Yeah.
Hunt for the Wilder People. I trust him. This is a crazy subject matter.
Yes.
And honestly looks more like a Wes Anderson film I wouldn't see.
Well, I don't like Wes Anderson either.
But I trust Taika Waititi. It looks insane.
Apparently he's been trying to make this movie for like 10 years, but he didn't have the clout yet, and no studio would walk near it. But now that he's got all these big films under his belt, they finally let him do this movie. And it's basically what you can't hear from the audio is a little German boy in World War II Germany. Hitler Youth, whose imaginary friend is Hitler. And Taika Waititi plays Hitler in this film. And then you have Scarlett Johansson as the mother. And then this boy ends up meeting a little Jewish girl who's hidden away, and starts to become friends with her and realizes what he's doing and supporting is crazy. So it seems in the trailer. But like you said, I everything that Taika Waititi's done, I've loved massively. So I don't know how I cannot like, unless he just totally screws up this one.
Right. I trust him, but this is just an insane premise.
It really is.
So I'll be interested. I think it's gonna be a flip of a coin.
Yeah, but that's Jojo Rabbit, folks. So what do you give it?
This, I don't know. This has like at least 6 Raul Julias. But going down that big slide with Christopher Lloyd in Addams Family.
Very nice. Mine just has 4 Raul Julias standing and clapping thoughtfully. Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, just thoughtfully.
Thoughtful clap is classy.
It is. And Raul Julia's classy. So, does that bring us some radical recommends?
I believe it brings us some radical recommends.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
what are you recommending for us this episode?
So this week, I didn't have to dive too heavy on YouTube because these people have a lot of subscribers, but they have a lot of subscribers because it's very, very good. And it's a channel called Defunctland.
Okay.
DEFUNCTLAND. And it is they put together these segments starting between 5 and some of them up to 25 or 30 minutes, sort of chronicling the middle history of Disney and their attractions.
Okay.
In that they talk about, like, do you remember Disney Quest?
Oh, yeah.
They do a whole thing about how it was developed and the idea and then what happened to it and how it was received. And they do this for Disney. They also do it for Universal. They talk about, like, how the Jaws ride was made and who pushed for it and what changes it went through and what failed and what they had to change. And they do this for all the rides that you and I grew up with in Orlando.
Nice.
Including classic ones like 24,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They cover like the history of Ghostbusters shows at the Universal parks. And same thing with Beetlejuice. Like, Beetlejuice has had multiple shows at the Universal parks over the years.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about, like, rarely seen Disney characters, like the rarest Disney characters to see out and about. Different light shows and how they came to be. There was originally supposed to be an entire Indiana Jones, like, part of the park, its own section. And it was going to feature a giant temple that itself had 3 rides that went in or out of it, 3 completely different rides. And they did that, and it was just too much. They talk a lot about Eisner and sort of him grabbing the horns of the company. And yes, eventually leading it to some good success, but also trying a lot of really terrible failure things. The one that I had kind of forgotten about was called Club Disney.
Sounds
which
familiar.
was Disney's answer to Discovery Zone.
Oh, Discovery Zone, like the big place where kids
Like
go.
ball pits and running and games and stuff. It was Disney trying to cash in on that, and they opened 30 locations and they all died a terrible death.
Oh, God.
But it's just really cool in depth of the rides that you loved and how they got made and the struggles they went through and the changes they've had. One of the most interesting ones I saw was there was a ride that they were going to open up. It was like a paparazzi ride where you got into a cab and like went around Hollywood, and you got to see animatronics of, like, Tim Allen doing stand up and Jackie Chan doing a stunt. And the whole idea is you were going on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and seeing these animatronic celebrities. But then Princess Diana died in that terrible paparazzi chase, and they had to can the entire ride.
Oh, wow.
So they did run a few times with a few adjustments, but then it sat vacant and they reskinned it with a Monsters Inc. ride.
Oh.
That is currently at Disneyland that Anna and I went on, where you get into a taxi in Monster Town or whatever the hell, and you go through the story. But the best part is they didn't have the money to fully reskin it. So the animatronics, a lot of them just have, like, new costumes on them.
But
so
they
the
are
Tim
still
Allen
celebrities.
and Jackie Chan animatronics are still there in the same place. They're just wearing yellow biohazard suits, like in the movie.
That's so funny.
But it's the same, like, just crazy stuff like that. So I highly recommend it. Defunctland, just some really cool stuff.
It's amazing how much fascination there is for just these rides and the lore behind all this stuff. Something mysterious and mystique about it. I don't know. It's strange. But very cool. Defunctland. Mine for this episode, I haven't had a chance to watch much else besides Dark Crystal the time I've been back from DragonCon, but I watched a little bit of Lucifer. It's been recommended to me by so many friends it was getting annoying, so I finally watched it. I'm like, this is going to be stupid and silly, and it is a little stupid and silly, but it's a lot of fun. If you guys like Supernatural, the TV show, which I've loved, you'll really like this. It's just with even more sex and more violence, but still fighting angels and demons and a lot of funny moments. It's a very funny show, but basically Lucifer comes, he wants to give up running hell. So he comes to Earth in human form, and he loves having sex and partying and stuff, and doesn't really care about much. But then he meets this woman through a sequence of events who's a detective, a homicide detective, and he starts helping her with her cases, even though she can't stand him. So that's been used a lot in different shows. It's like, oh, there's the guy that she can't stand, and she's the hard-nosed detective, and like Castle and all those shows. But it just it adds a fun element to it because he has some superpowers and stuff because he's Lucifer. And
so there's an element of unpredictability there.
Yeah. And I love the paranormal aspect. Sometimes his brother, who's an angel in heaven, comes down to see him and everything slows down around them. And he's just trying to convince him to go back to hell, so put things back into balance. And the funnier part, too, is that he never lies. As Lucifer, it's like one of his things he just doesn't do. He doesn't lie. So people ask him his name. He's like, oh, Lucifer Morningstar. Nice to meet you. And every time it's just like, that's who I am. He's like, wait, like the devil? He's like, why, yes. So it's just really kind of amusing in that regard. And every person he talks to is compelled to tell them their deepest, darkest desires, except for this one woman, the detective. That's why he's fascinated by her, because she doesn't fall for his powers somehow. So it's really fun to watch. So I give it a go. It's on Netflix.
Okay, Lucifer, check it out, everyone.
All right, and now for a small thank you section.
We can't play this because of algorithm. And even now, we're going to get pulled.
So we might have gotten some messages or tweets or something like that, but we've been in a crazy place. So I just want to take a second to thank you all for listening for all these years, and all the newcomers, anyone else who's listening, and for allowing us to sometimes take a break and still sticking with us when we come back. So just thank you, listeners, to all of you out there.
Yeah, we're going to keep on doing it for as long as we can tolerate each other.
Which hopefully will be for a long time.
Because like we completely passed the 4-year and like didn't do anything.
Did we?
Yeah, we definitely passed the 4-year.
We'll do every 5 years.
Absolutely, we did. All right, so we'll do the next one at 5.
Yeah, perfect.
So keep on tuning in. We will keep coming back and being your nerdy co-hosts if you guys keep coming back and being our nerdy audience. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Find all of this content and even more nerdy news, reviews, and fun at www.aplayonnerds.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter so you know the exact second we release new podcasts, articles, and other nerdy content. We know you're impatient. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Podbean, Buzzsprout, Podomatic, and whatever the hell else you use. Also, please leave us a rating and review on your chosen podcast platform so we can be discovered by even more nerds like yourself. However you do it, check us out. And how.